Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make someone's head pop off and explode. And yeah, let's get right into it. So there's a couple key things that you guys need to know about this. One of the key things is you need a background that's super blank. Like, you don't want to use a background with like stuff behind him in the background. Like just it'll mess it all up. Like I don't have a good example to show you because there's no reason to like try it out on it on anything like that. So you always want a blank background, like a blank sky, or just something that's one solid color. Like, just see how the background is like a white wall. That's a perfect color for what's going to be going on. So let me start this off really quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to do Control D, and we're going to duplicate this twice. I'm going to change the color of this one, and I'm going to change the color of this one right here. Now these are also a very important part of this effect. What you're going to do is you're going to go into rotoscope on one of them, and you're going to start rotoscoping out his head. You're going to enable everything. You're going to want to enable everything right when you first start too. You're going to want to remember this. You're going to want to enable 2.0 if you don't have it on. Go into best, and for the first one you're going to go invert. I'm going to rename this to inverted layer, and this is going to be the layer that's going to actually help the content aware fill once we get into that. So go page down, press page down to kind of go through and cycle through on your rotoscope. I'm going to kind of go through this quick. This is a 2-second 24 frame per second composition, so it's only about 48 frames per second, so it's not going to be that many. First I had it on 120 for some reason, so I exported it out to 24 frames. Make sure this is clean. And remember, when you're doing this, you just want his head. Make sure that you get his neck, and then end at the t-shirt line. So the first one is going to be an inverted layer. Remember, enable everything while you're rotoscoping. And the neckline right there. And then what you're going to do after this, after each time you rotoscope for the inverted and non-inverted, press freeze. Like I said, it's about 45, 48 frames. Now we have the first one. This is your inverted layer. I'm going to disable all the layers really quick to show you. Go back to composition. This is what it should look like. I'm going to feather it out a little bit. Just a tiny bit, ever so slightly. Maybe do about 13. You guys don't have to do this. I'm choosing to. Now we're going to enable all the layers again. Now this one, non-inverted layer. This one we're going to move to the top. This is just for this part right here. Double click, hold down spacebar, rotoscope the top layer out. This is going to be his head. Again, after you rotoscope the very first layer, go back in, enable everything. If it's not enabled, go best. Make sure that's all set up, and then press page down. Let me go through this. It's not going to be the same exact rotoscope, but if you rotoscope it perfect on the first layer, something simple like this with not too much movement should be pretty good. Also, all the assets like the blood and stuff I'm going to be using will be linked in the description below. So let me go through this. It's decent enough for the sake of the tutorial. Every rotoscope you do, press freeze. Now as it's coming together, it should start looking like something like this. I'm going to disable this layer, go back in. Now we just have his head. I'm going to feather this out to about 13, 12, 13, about around the same the other one was. Now, this is extremely important. Now we have both of the layers rotoscoped, right? We have our non-inverted layer, or we have our inverted layer, our non-inverted layer, our background, and then we're just going to enable everything. So this is a very key point when we get into this right here. Here, sorry, I'm just looking at something. We keep the background the same. And now what we're going to do is we're going to disable everything except for the inverted layer. If you don't do this, you will mess up your content aware fill. Trust me. We're going to go to where you're going to find content aware. You're going to go to where your Info is where you go and then go down, past effects and presets, go down, past tracker, and go to content aware fill. You're going to make sure that object under fill method is on. Don't mess with any of this. Range, work area. You can mess with the alpha expansion. For something as small as his head, you probably don't need to. Go to generate fill layer, but make sure every single layer on the eye is gone, like is turned off, so you can't like see anything else except for the inverted layer. Turn on generate fill layer. Let it do its thing. It should be analyzing the composition right here. Goes through all the frames. And now you should have something like this. Now, if you just wanted something like this, because this is kind of cool, you could keep it like this. But we're going to add a little bit more to it today. So go to your non-inverted layer, turn it back on, and turn everything else back on. Take your non-inverted layer and add it to the top. Enable motion blur. Go down. Go to your effect control panel and go to transform and turn on all the keyframes. Go here. I would say watch the video a couple times and try to find a good point that you think it would be a good placement to pull the head off. So I'm kind of going through a little bit trying to make sure. I'd say about 16 frames in. It's nothing like, I would say go off of like the pacing of what's happening. So I'm gonna go, it's a 45 frames long. So I'm gonna try to go about here, about 20 frames. Let's just go 20 frames in just to make it easier. Take the head. Drag it off. You're messing with your positioning. So you're going to position it to go off. I like to add a little bit of rotation. So what I'm going to do here, just rotate it ever so slightly when it pops off. Now that's a little too slow for me. Grab the keyframes, drag them in. Now this is all done on your non-inverted layer where the head is. So I'm going to highlight these, keyframe assistant, easy ease. You get something a little bit smoother. But you could stop the effect right here. But as of right now, it looks still a little bit boring. You have head flying off. Looks cool. So now we're going to start adding our blood assets. What you're going to do, what I do just for this, just to make it a little bit easier for me, just click all the eyeballs, turn all these off for a second, and now we have the layer all by itself. This is where we're going to start tracking everything. So after you've done everything, it should look like this. So let me go back in just so we can kind of go over it. You've keyframed everything. I did a super simple keyframe. Keyframed everything, so then the head popped off. We created our content aware fill, so then the background was gone. We have the non-inverted layer, the inverted layer, the background, and everything else. So as of right now, we have this. So now let's add the blood assets. Go into your first layer, the one on the very bottom, turn off everything else. Go into effects and presets, type in mocha. Go to mocha AE and slap it onto your very bottom layer. Go to mocha, close. Okay, sorry. Once you're inside of mocha, since this is going to be just his head, what I'm going to do is click the little ellipse, the circle tool, and we're going to track it forward. And there's not that much movement, so you don't really have to worry about too much in this scene, but I like tracking it just so we can get a little bit better of like a look on it. And then track it backwards. So once you tracked it forward and backward, click save. Go to your tracking data, create track, and click on layer 1, the layer you just tracked. It should be on his head. So now we're going to enable top layer, all the other layers. So now see how the track stays here. You don't want to track the head or anything. So now we have this. Now, right click here and create a new null. The null object is what's going to be helping us keep the blood assets on the head. The null can be anywhere on the scene. It can be up, bottom, top, anywhere. Doesn't really matter. Open up tracking data again on this, on the very bottom layer. Go to transform on tracking data, underneath export option. Go to null, apply export, and now your null is tracked to your sequence. Now we want to get our blood assets on there. So go back to project after you've downloaded the blood assets that I've actually provided, and you can find the mini blood explosion. Click and drag the mini blood explosion onto your timeline and keep it on the very top. From here, we're going to find the positioning of where the head pops. I would say around here is good. Maybe drag it back a little bit. You want to try to like time it. I'm going to drag it here. See, this looks already good, but I kind of want a little bit more going on. So what you're going to do is once you have the blood explosion in the video and the timing, you're going to go and click parent and link. Go down to null, find null 1, and it'll track it to the scene. Now the other blood asset right here, the lens hit, you just apply this. I just added it to the folder so you guys have a little bit more stuff to play with. But the thing is it's not as dark as the other one. You might have to color correct it a little bit. Okay, so at this point you should have this. Fairly easy. The effect isn't like super hard to do, but always remember, add motion blur to the layer that your head is going to be on the non-inverted layer. Always add motion blur. So when you get everything, let me turn these off. Let's go right here. While it's moving, kind of adds like a little bit of some motion blur to it with the keyframes. But yeah, like I said, I don't think this is like a fairly hard tutorial. I personally don't, but I really hope this helped you guys out understanding this if you guys wanted to try out an effect like this. But maybe I'll come out with one with like arms or legs or something, like breaking arms and legs. All the assets I found were found on productioncrate.com. I did give them to you guys for free. I pay monthly for the subscription. They do not sponsor me at all. Maybe next time we can kind of go over how to like fix some of the objects and stuff, or not the objects, but some of the assets in the scene, like how to tint them a little bit and like take out some of the colors so they match the actual scene. So just kind of wanted to go over that with you guys today. First tutorial ever. Hope this helped you guys out. Have a good rest of you guys' day.